Good morning, Western Washington, and happy Thursday. I'm Matthew Fab with Western Washington Weather, and we've got some interesting stuff to talk about today in terms of some very dangerous fire potential in the Cascades, and then the potential for a lot of rain coming up next week, and a somewhat of a decent change in our overall pattern. So we'll take a look at all of that in the video today, but let's start here with the satellite imagery. Right now, you can see about 7 a.m. we have some marine layer across parts of western Washington. You can see some areas here in the mountain valleys, and in parts of the lowlands have some fog and low clouds. Also, take a look at these hot spots. The Labor Mountain Fire already producing a lot of smoke blowing across parts of eastern Washington. This thing could really have a huge day today, so we need to look at that very carefully here. We'll take a look at that in a moment. And you can see these clouds offshore. We do have frontal systems off to the northwest across parts of Canada and out into the Pacific Ocean, and we'll have a dry, cold front move through today, which will produce a surge of winds here through the Kittitas Valley and some of the other gaps into eastern Washington that could bring some really big problems for some of these fires. So taking a look at our overall pattern here, you see our ridging, and you see this troughing moving in. That is what causes a little bit of that wind today, and as this ridge starts to push out, we get the troughing moving through, but it doesn't give us any rain. The front is up here across BC. Then as we go into Friday, you see we have a brief ridge build. Again, another more sunnier day there, but then going into the weekend, you can see through Saturday, that ridging influence remains, but it will be a little bit cloudy. It will be starting to get a little cooler. And then take a look as we go into Sunday and Monday. Just a lot of troughing off the coast there over the Gulf of Alaska. This is going to bring multiple systems into the area. We're going to cool down. We're going to get rainy. And you're going to notice that big change is going to feel a lot more like fall. So you can see how we go into Tuesday and Wednesday there. We still have this troughing offshore. So it'll be interesting to see kind of what plays out over the next few days. We'll be watching it very closely. So stay tuned for more on that. Taking a look at the precipitation forecast, you can see that front is going into Vancouver Island there, and its influence is just wind across western Washington, not western Washington, a little bit in western Washington, mainly in the Cascade gaps. Then going into Friday and Saturday, we remain mostly dry, but then going into Saturday night into Sunday morning, extreme northern Washington like Whatcom County and the Nia Bay area may get some rain with this frontal system across Vancouver Island and parts of BC. But then going into Sunday evening here, you can see about 2 to 5 p.m. there on Sunday, we get this frontal system moving onto the coast. That rain continues into Monday morning through most of the day Monday. You can see showers continuing all the way into Monday evening to Tuesday morning there. And then we have a brief break Tuesday until about midday, and then that next system brings a front onshore there, and we have rain going into at least Tuesday night. This will likely continue through the day Wednesday, maybe get some wind as well based on how some of this may play out offshore. So stay tuned. We have a lot to talk about for the first couple days of October there. And then this is that precipitation through next Tuesday, the 30th of September, and you can see about an inch for Whatcom County and parts of the coast, and then the Olympics potentially getting over 2 inches. That would be really good news for the Bear Gulch fire, and the lowlands getting about a half inch to an inch, depending on where you are. This, I'm sure, will change quite a bit over the next few days, so we have to watch it closely. And then you can see the Cascades also getting about an inch to an inch and a half, which would be good news for some of those fires as well, although I'd like to see a little bit more on the east slopes of the Cascades to really get those fires out. So stay tuned for more on that. Now taking a look at the maximum wind gusts, and this is for today. This is the high-resolution rapid refresh model, and you can see as we go through this afternoon, you get some winds down the Strait of Juan de Fuca, but the big concern is these winds through the Kittitas Valley and some of the other gaps and out into eastern Washington. Take a look at this. You're getting gusts of 40 to 45 miles per hour on the ridges in some of those valleys, even out into places like Moses Lake and stuff like that. You can see that showing up there at 40 miles per hour there, 40 miles per hour in the Yakima area as well, 41 in the Tri-Cities. So you're going to have a lot of winds across eastern Washington, and this is going to cause some really big problems for the Labor Mountain Fire and the Lower Sugarloaf Fire, and any new fires that start will just spread extremely rapidly, such as grass fires and stuff like that. And there is also a chance of blowing dust as well. And you can see that here, National Weather Service in Spokane has issued a red flag warning, and National Weather Service in Pendleton has also issued a red flag warning. And you can see that is in effect for most of the Columbia Basin and up into Okanagan County as well, and some of the areas affected by some other fires in Ferry County there. And you can see winds gusting up to 35 miles per hour and up to 40 miles per hour on ridges in the Waterville Plateau. with relative humidity of 8 to 18% and a higher terrain 15 to 30%. So any fires could spread rapidly, and use caution with anything that could start a fire and heed all fire restrictions. You can see that is in effect from 1 p.m. to 11 p.m. today, except 11 a.m. to 9 a.m. Friday in parts of Chelan County where we have some fires going on. So a very dangerous situation potentially today. And with that wind in mind, it will make sense to you now why we just see huge smoke plumes off the Labor Mountain fire, even the Wildcat fire down there near Mount Rainier, and then a little bit lesser so, but still off the Sugarloaf fire. The Labor Mountain fire, though, is just very, very close right now to jumping Highway 97, and that is likely something that with these winds, it's possible that we see that happen today. And then you can see the Bear Gulch fire here in the Olympic Peninsula potentially producing a little bit of smoke, but not very much. And then you can see as we go into Friday there, the smoke plumes happen again, a little bit lesser so with lesser winds, and they blow off to the northeast a little bit rather than blowing due east. But you can see it'll be another day of more fire activity there on Friday. So taking a look at the near-surface smoke, you can see with these winds, anywhere downwind of these fires like Yakima and over toward Moses Lake and parts of central Grant County, even Wenatchee and stuff like that, is just going to have some very bad air quality because this is going to be very concentrated smoke blowing in a very, very defined plume, and anywhere downwind of it's going to have some problems, and even in the Cascades going to have some problems as well. As we go into Friday, you can see how it just continues blowing east, and then even here in western Washington, the Bear Gulch fire, the bad air quality likely doesn't escape Hood Canal, but still anywhere out there could have some more smoke, and you can see how the Wenatchee area, the Waterville Plateau, really just getting a ton of smoke out of that Labor Mountain fire, and then the Wildcat fire as well, producing a decent amount of smoke going into Friday into Saturday morning there. And then taking a look at the fires themselves, we know what's going on with Bear Gulch and Tunnel Creek. They're both slowly growing, but what we really want to look at here, pardon the little error there, is a Wildcat. You can see it's growing along Bumping Lake. We had a lot of activity on it yesterday on all perimeters, but it's going to grow off to the east, which is not good news for the town of Goose Prairie there. So we could see that have a very close potential approach by the fire today. And then going a little bit to the north, take a look at the Labor Mountain fire here. It's showing heat right on US 97. It's likely going to move east of US 97 today. It will be moving closer to Wenatchee. How far it gets today is a little bit of a question, but you could have winds in here gusting at over 40 miles per hour. So this is a very dangerous and very volatile situation with the Labor Mountain fire. And then moving a little bit further north to the Lower Sugarloaf fire. Those winds are going to be blowing down toward the Columbia River. It can make a run down some of these valleys, hopefully not very close to the Entiat River Valley. It doesn't look like there's that much heat over there right now, but it could blow off to the southeast here on this southern perimeter of the fire as well. But the biggest concern by far today is that Labor Mountain fire and just how much it could spread because of the position it's in here. As you can see in the Kittitas Valley, the north part of the Kittitas Valley there, it's not entirely in the valley, but it's close enough that it'll really catch some of these winds. And it's already at 17,000 acres. It's grown 10,000 acres in the last few days, and another very explosive day is possible. So stay tuned to my social media. I'll try to provide some updates on what's going on there at the fires. And then taking a look at air quality. It's going to be a pretty good day in western Washington. You can see it mostly in the good category, except around North Bend and some of the foothills, and of course around the Bear Gulch fire on Lake Cushman. This should all be cleaned out today with some of the onshore winds. And then even across parts of eastern Washington, the smoke is going to be in those very defined plumes. Areas outside of those plumes will likely have their air quality get pretty nice today. So you can see there Wenatchee and some of the areas along the Columbia where that smoke just settles in, and down in Yakima as well, having some issues with air quality this morning. And then a brief look at temperatures. You can see we cool down today across western Washington. Highs in the low to mid 60s, low 70s from Olympia southward potentially. And then on the coast in the upper 50s to low 60s. Friday we warm up back to the mid 60s to low 70s across the region. Mid 60s on the coast. Warm up a little bit more on Saturday ahead of the frontal system with highs in the low to mid 70s. Maybe upper 70s from about Chehalis southward there. And then upper 50s to mid 60s on the coast. We stay a little bit warmer on Sunday there with highs in the upper 60s to mid 70s, but you can see those temperatures crash on Monday, and they may crash a little bit on Sunday as well, so those highs may be a little bit too high for that day. But you can see there on Monday you have highs in the mid to upper 60s, maybe some low 60s even north of Everett, and then you can see the coast upper 50s to low 60s. Continue with that on Tuesday and Wednesday and into Thursday of next week, because we may have more systems coming through, so it's going to keep the temperatures at a cooler level because of all the clouds and rain and wind and stuff like that. So stay tuned for more on that. We do have a lot more coming to talk about here. 6 to 10 day temperature outlook for the end of September to the first few days of October, slightly above to near normal temperatures for parts of western Washington there. And then you can see again that above average precipitation signal for most of the Northwest, and now especially including parts of Northern California, which is good to see as well. So this is good if we want some rain and want to hopefully get a bigger handle on those fires. So stay tuned for more information over the next few days. Also, it is getting cooler. You might want some long sleeve shirts. Got the long sleeve shirts here and many other things on the Western Washington Weather merch store. Link is in the description below, so go check that out. And as always, thank you very much for watching. Be sure to subscribe to Western Washington Weather, and then follow me on the Western Washington Weather Facebook group and my Blue Sky and Twitter accounts. And you can get a lot of updates on the fires there. I'll be trying to post some of those today because we do have a dangerous situation out there in Eastern Washington. So be safe if you're out there. Stay tuned for more, everybody, and I will talk to you all later.